Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Ryobi backpack blower. This is not exactly a commercial grade blower, but it is a nice, lightweight, comfortable to wear unit. Good for the small homeowner property. Customer complaint is that it won't run. It looks like they got some fresh-ish kind of fuel in there, but that was just poured on top of whatever rancid old stuff was left in the tank. The problem we have here is that the fuel lines are broken, and whenever we see a broken, deteriorated line, we will take a look inside the carburetor, usually replace the gaskets inside there. You'll notice that I pointed out where the high-speed adjustment is on this carburetor, and that's just a reference for the end of this video. So disassembly is as simple as it can be. There's just two screws holding the carburetor on. You just gotta have the right tool to do it, right? So it's gonna be T25 Torx to spin these screws loose. We'll get our air filter base plate off. There, fill out the gasket. A lot of dinking around here. Let's go. Disconnect the throttle cable. You can see one of the fuel lines is already disconnected. It did that on its own when it rotted out. The other fuel line's in pretty dang good shape, and I'm gonna leave it in there. That'll come back to bite me in the ass. Sometimes I just scribe a line on the carburetor like that so that I can put it back together without having to think about which way the parts go. When you see cuts in these videos when I'm doing repairs, it's either because I'm walking off to get a part, or it's because I'm being I don't want to say disturbed because it's part of my job, but maybe I get called up to the showroom or got to help a customer with something, whatever. So there's a lot of distractions, and I'm walking away from projects and coming back to them, and it just goes a lot faster if you don't have to do any extra thinking. So we are just swapping out the metering diaphragm and pump gaskets. Freshen this carb up a little bit. Wow, that guy's fast. So there's our rotten fuel line. We'll get that out of here. We'll stick some new fuel line in the tank. There's no grommets in this tank. It just the line just pushes right through a hole in the tank. This method seems to work pretty good. If you connect the line to the carburetor and then pull the excess back through the tank until you have the proper amount of slack in the fuel line. Get our carburetor bolted back on. And don't forget about your gasket. I mean, that's the only thing that's taking any time here, is getting that gasket lined up in place. And when you're putting a gasket on between intake manifold and the carburetor. Make sure you're using a gasket that has the hole in it for the impulse port, if that applies to your carburetor. We'll slap a new fuel filter on here. Get that stuffed in the tank. Get some go-go juice in here and get it fired up, right? Wrong. I put the fuel in a tank, and that line that I did not replace was leaking where it passes through the tank. The line itself was quite pliable, but it was deformed where it passed through the tank and letting fuel leak out of there. So we're going to replace that line as well. I should have just done that right off the bat. You can kind of see the indentation on that line where it passed through the tank. No big deal. Take another 2 minutes here and slap a new line on it. Well, this guy's taking his time again. At least this is set up kind of nice where you can just reach right in the filler hole and access the fuel lines to be able to pull them through. There are so many setups out there that just make it very difficult to snake fuel lines into the tank. So the rest of this video is going to be some basic carburetor adjustments. And what I usually do is after I make these adjustments, then I let the machine sit and cool down, and then do all these adjustments over again. So that's all I'm going to have for you on the Ryobi backpack blower. Thanks for watching. Later.